never fucking know. Okay, cool. Awesome, I can start. Hey y'all. So right now it is 6:36 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I woke up at around 5, did not really get a good night's sleep, so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna work out. I was talking to this girl last night online, and dude, she was stacked. And I was like, yo, I gotta be like that. But I was just scrolling through my IG, and I saw that like nearly 3,795 racially motivated attacks against Asian Americans from like last year to like now have been reported, and those aren't even probably the total number, because you know, Asian Americans, we like to like, you know, hold it in, we like to save face. This really got me fucked up, because it just shows what like I feel like we as a group have been going through to varying levels of high and low throughout our entire history of being in America. And to me, like, it sucks. And, you know, of course I'm angry that, you know, most of the attacks have been on women and old men, old ladies. I mean, like you really got to be on some pussy shit to shove an old lady, dude. And like the most recent attack, like some dude shot up the spa. The spa is where you go to like decompress, maybe get a hand job or whatever. And dude, he just shot it up. I get that Asian Americans only make up, I'm checking the census, like 6% of, you know, America. America's like 321 million people. It's a lot of people. And, you know, eventually, like, minorities and POC are gonna outweigh the white people, you know, and that's projected. And, you know, hopefully things change for the better, and hopefully, like, the country just starts to serve POC, like, better and just more, and just we can work to, like, you know, getting this racism thing down and just treating everyone better. That's all I want to see. That's it. Also, just acknowledge that this racism towards Asian Americans has been happening. You know, like the Japanese internment camps, the Chinese Exclusion Act. I feel like every single Asian race has been excluded at like one point or another and just shunned. And the fact that like most of these insults are like, go back to China, or like, you're a disease. And you know, a disease, you want it to go away, because it's like supposed to be a temporary thing. Like, you know, the big C happening right now. It's supposed to be a temporary thing, and you're supposed to heal from it, and that disease is supposed to go away. So what you're saying is like Asian American people are just here temporarily, and you know, like you want them to go away. And that's some fuck shit. Cause like, you know, if I'm born in America, I'm an American. Plain and simple, you know? I'm from New York. I'm a proud New Yorker. Most of the time I'm a proud American. I know it's a controversial statement for 2021, considering how fucked up our country is. But yeah, I'm glad to be born in the place I was born in. I'm glad to live in the place I'm living in. By the way, this mic is not plugged in. I'm just using it as like to hold something. You know, I'll just speak on my personal experience and like why I feel the way I feel about everything, and I'm gonna touch on a lot of different stuff. I was born in Manhattan. I moved to Queens for a bit, and then I moved to Ardsley, which is Westchester County. And overall, you know, like in terms of like racial discrimination and bullying, I'll just focus on the negative for a bit. You know, I had it pretty good. I know that, you know, my experience doesn't stand for everybody. You know, like, I'm glad my experience wasn't as bad as everyone else's, because other kids I've talked to, you know, they've literally been like, you know, I was literally made to hate myself, and I literally wanted to change my race so that I wouldn't have to feel ashamed. And it's like, I think we need to stop bullying people about stuff they can't change. You know what I mean? As in, like, you know, your race. I can't change this. But if I'm like 5 pounds overweight, I mean, obviously I could change that, but it's like race, you know, like I can't change my race, you know what I mean? So therefore, like, why are you saying like, oh, you need to stop being this, or like, you know what I mean? It's like, shut the fuck up. I remember in 7th grade was the first time I got called a chink. It was by this white dude, let's call him Steve, and I was just on the playground, just hanging out. I didn't really have a lot of friends in 7th grade. Middle school, I did not have a lot of friends. I struggled to make friends all throughout middle school. I was quite the loner, and I was kind of just bouncing between people, just trying to fit in. I guess I had like a couple people who I guess I was friendly with, but I know that like when the bell rang, I would just run the fuck home. Thankfully, my house wasn't that far, but because, you know, I just didn't want to be around, and it just wasn't enjoyable for me. Not even because of like what I'm going to talk about, but just because I just wasn't in a good mental state. But yeah, he just came up to me and he's just like, hey, like, shut up, you chink, or something. And I was just like, oh my God. And number one, I didn't even know what the word meant at that time, but I knew it meant something like poisonous. You know, like some words just are poisonous, like pathetic. That's such a poisonous word, and I never use that word. I hate when people use that word. It's just like, I ain't even triggered. I'm just like, I don't know. It's just such a powerful, toxic word. And that word, chink, you know, obviously, like, I say it so comfortably because, you know, I've kind of like reclaimed it. I'm not saying it's like the Chinese N word, but I guess it. I don't know. Who cares? But yeah, I just felt a way about it, and yeah, like kids have done like this to me, and you know, all that, and it didn't really affect me because, you know, I've always been like, what I've gone through personally on like my mental and emotional and like psychological health journey has been far more impactful than like kids saying mean shit to me. And, you know, like, of course I've had that verbal bullying with just a dabble of racism. I've been shunned, excluded from stuff, you know, whatever, you know, thank God nothing really ever got physical. Although, quite frankly, I would have rather people just punched me in the face one time rather than say those things, because like words hurt, and you know, it carries over for a lot of people. And it's like, you know, dude, that was in 7th grade, but I still fucking remember it. I know that a lot of Asian stereotypes are very positive. Usually stereotypes are very like negative about a certain ethnic group. Like, you can't trust black people because they're always late, you know, that's a stereotype. And then like Asian stereotypes are like, oh, well, Chinese ones are like, oh, he's good at math, or, you know, he's usually a doctor or a lawyer, you know, like that's a good stereotype. Unfortunately, I'm not any of those things. In fact, I get a bit happy when I'm like not fitting into those stereotypes, because I'm like defying the category. Yeah, so I guess that's why people don't feel like Asian Americans are in dire need, I guess, of like, they need our solidarity, or like they need our coins. And like, it's not like Asian Americans are being like slaughtered on the street. Not yet, or hopefully never. I hope that never happens to anybody. That's fucking horrific. But, you know, I mean, there's this most recent report. 8 people got shot up at the spa, and 4 of them were Asian. It's getting weird, you know? It's getting intense. It's just disturbing. Yeah, this is in Georgia, and it was, I don't even want to give the shooter, like, a name or a face. It's a white guy. Okay, interesting. His last name's Long. Isn't that an Asian name? Anyway, what I've gained from watching a lot of content and, you know, reading a lot of books and articles from like when Black Lives Matter started up again last springish, I think. And, you know, obviously that was long overdue. And obviously, like, I'd known about Black Lives Matter before, but I guess, I don't know. I think it's just sometimes you just don't speak up until until someone really gives you that push to. And, you know, I have to shout out my friend Elvin for really giving me that push, because yeah, listen, like, you can work your ass off to profit yourself and to profit others. Those things are not mutually exclusive. You can work for yourself, and you can also give back to profit the community. And just like, last year was a very uncomfortable reckoning for me in terms of that, because sometimes change isn't always comfortable. Sometimes it's uncomfortable. It's not always just this eat, pray, love moment where it's like, oh my god, I gotta go to fucking Africa and feed the kids. Oh my god, and now this means I like care about kids. No, sometimes it's just like, damn, I was fucking dumb in the past, and now I have to learn and unlearn shit at my own pace, but also in a timely fashion. And you know, I saw a few videos on Asian Black solidarity, two groups that have been, you know, heavily affected by the coronavirus in terms of like people ain't getting their stimmies, this whole cops thing, and you know, all that. Again, I don't think it needs to be a competition between like Asian Americans and Black Americans, because it's like, who cares? Why do we need to like fight over like, oh, who suffered more in history and therefore we should da-da-da-da. Like, of course there are levels. Like, of course, you know, Black people are literally killed more than Asian Americans when it comes to like cops and like being mistreated by cops. Obviously, we all get that. We all understand that. But it's like, you know, instead of kind of wasting time on like just being like, oh, so you posted this about Asian Americans, so you don't care about Black Americans anymore. I'm like, no. First of all, I have two eyes. I have more than two brain cells, so therefore I could focus on multiple things. I could focus on prison reform and climate change. I could focus on Black Lives Matter and Stop Asian Hate. I could focus on my right foot and my left foot. Like, if you sign a petition, if you donate, you know, like, whatever is good. Like, honestly, like, I'm a person who doesn't really care whether your posts are performative or not, especially with this Asian American thing. Like, again, I haven't seen that many people post about it. And the majority of them, of course, are Asian Americans and, you know, Asian accounts from what I've seen. And, you know, like, I've seen my friends post stuff about it who are, like, white and Latino, and it's like, I feel grateful. I was thinking this morning while up in bed, and I was just like, wait, like, why do I feel grateful about them sharing a post? Why do I feel grateful about people, like, actually giving a fuck about me and, like, when my people are, like, not doing so great? I should just be like, okay, cool. But no, I've literally, like, DM'd them, like, thank you for caring. And, like, Demi Lovato posted something, and I was just like, thank you for caring. And then I'm like, wait, why are we, like, ugh. It should just be a given that, like, people give a fuck, because, quite frankly, like, Asian audiences and Asian American audiences, you know, probably make up a big portion of, let's just keep using Demi. Demi's tour sales, and, you know, when she travels to Asia, that's all Asian people. And, you know, I get that Asians and Asian Americans are two different kind of people, and for people who are confused about that, it's just like, when Korean Americans go to Korea, they're too Americanized, they're like too whitewashed for the Koreans, and they're called I'm probably gonna butcher this, I don't speak Korean, sorry. Gyopos. Gyopo. But like, Miguel's lyric is because he's Mexican and Black, he says too proper for the Black kids, too Black for the Mexicans. Too square to be a hood. What's normal anyway? I feel like Asian Americans feel a lot of the same, and that's why, like, even in your home country of America, you know, when you're still ostracized and you're still told, like, go back to Korea, go back to China, we don't want you here. Were you even born here? It's like, which country is gonna fucking accept me? Just to sidetrack a bit, you know, like, I feel like Asian American culture, it's very much about, like, just focusing hard, working hard in school. I think Asian Americans are typically smart. Like, I remember Harvard literally turned away Asians because they're like, we have too many Asians. You know what I mean? Because the Asians were just going hard in the booth, and they were getting the bag. You know, because like, the Asian American parent, you know, sometimes they're immigrants, sometimes they're born here. You know, my dad was born in New York, lived in the same county like most of his life. My mom's from Oz, Australia. Shout out to Melbourne. So technically I'm Australian because I came out of that, but like, I'm not really Australian. Like, good day, mate. You know, it just sucks that like white people have like this power, and I get on the flip side, you could be like, oh well, like, why are you letting words affect you? I'm also like 12, so like, what do I know? But it's like, they have this power, or like people in a higher position have this power to make you feel like, damn, like, I'm just not wanted. And it's like, you know, it makes you feel insignificant. It makes you feel like crap, because you're just like, where do I belong? You know, like, I want to belong somewhere. You know, we all want to belong somewhere. You know, like me, even now, I'm 20. I think we all just want to belong somewhere and just find our tribe, you know? That's been a thing that's been said to me since I started like therapy when I was like 12, 13, and like started all my shit, you know, just my mom's always been like, you know, you gotta find your tribe, and you know, once you find your tribe, you're just gonna be more comfortable with yourself. But also, like, it's good to find comfort within yourself. I feel like a big part of maturity is like knowing how to be alone. And definitely, like, during this pandemic, you know, a lot of us have had to be alone and isolated for an extended period of time, especially like the extroverts out there who have had to be alone and just being like, whoa, like, I'm not hanging out with my friends every night, so it's just like, what the fuck am I gonna do when I've watched everything on Netflix? In my opinion, it's good, you know, like you really have to know how to like be by yourself, because that's, I think, number one, it forces you to confront a lot of uncomfortable truths, like, hey, maybe I need to sort this part out in my life more. Maybe I need to like find some fucking hobbies besides being online and like, you know, TikToking. Jesus, I sounded old. But I haven't had TikTok in a while because it was very distracting. Asian American parents, I feel like the model is like, we're gonna work hard, you don't even have to work. Of course, if your family's, you know, lower class, obviously you're gonna have to work. But like, school's the priority, and then like, we're gonna invest in our kid and like, you know, cover his shit. So therefore, when he's wealthy and successful, he's gonna take care of us and like pay us back. You know what I mean? So like, invest in your product to get a bigger return. I feel like that's the Asian American model. And a lot of the times that includes like, when you're in a situation, like some kid calls you a chink or a wetback or something, you know, your parent would always be like, you know, it's okay, just they're assholes, and you need to save face, and you just need to keep focusing, because, you know, like, they don't want you to get into a situation that's going to compromise everything that they've worked hard for. I have a few Asian American friends, and I talked to them about it. I've talked to my dad about it, and he's very smart, and, you know, he said, you know, at the end of the day, like, POC, we need to realize that, like, we have more in common than we think, and just, we need to stop being so divided by certain people, and, like, we need to just band together and realize we're all victims. We've all just been scattered and fucked up because of white supremacy and just the history, and we just need to stand together and realize that, like, hey, you know, like, you suffered this year, I've suffered this year, you suffered our history, I've suffered our history. Let's just stand together instead of being so divided, and because they're trying to turn us against each other. So therefore nothing ever changes. United we stand, divided we fall. It means a lot, you know, so I think we really just have to put aside our differences and focus on the greater good, which is just standing up for each other. Like, stand the fuck up for each other. I was very happy to see Asian Americans stand with black people last year, and, you know, moving forward, and, you know, of course there have been Asian people standing up for everybody last year, but, and, you know, there's a lot of anti-blackness in my people's culture that I just don't fuck with at all, obviously, because it's like, what's the point? I know that, like, family members of mine have, you know, they grew up broke as shit, and, you know, they grew up in the hood, and, like, they had to fight with other people of different races for scraps, and, you know, but that's the past, you know what I mean? And it's like, you have to unlearn, like, what you went through and realize that not all people are like that, and just, like, instead embrace people. A positive note, I'm glad to see the Grammys, the Grammys, you know, like her winning, Anderson .Paak, blah, 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 Bruno Mars. Shout out to my Filipinos, y'all are so talented. I don't know how I'll do it. I was looking at an article, and then, like, of all the Asian American performers, winners, artists in the industry right now, Asian American performers, and most of them are, like, Filipino or Korean, and, like, y'all are killing it. So shout out to y'all. And that's a good thing to see. Diversity is so important. me personally, like, I didn't need to see people like me on TV to pursue what I wanted to do, which is the entertainment industry, the music industry. I think I was just inspired by myself, if that makes sense. Like, I was just like, you know what? I have a good support system of, my parents, I'm slowly, just getting better with my mental health, and what that's showing me is just positive reinforcement, and just self-esteem too. Just, I think when you have self-esteem and when you have confidence, when you accomplish stuff, you get more confident in yourself. I started making music at 14. That has led me to do so many cool things. It's led me to people, coming up to me and being like, yo, dude, like keep doing your thing. It's led to people online being like, yo, this is sick. It's led to me getting into college. It's literally taken me from like here to Toronto through me being myself and through me like writing music and just being my damn self. It's literally led me to have a more exciting life, and that's all I could ever ask for. I hope to someday, be a more prominent figure, I guess. I don't want to be a role model, because I feel like that sets you up to like where people expect this certain mold of you to stay the same, and if you deviate from that mold, then they're like, you're trash. It's like, that's binding. I'd rather just be an inspiration, just to show like, it sounds cheesy, and there are so many factors involved, but just like, no matter what your skin tone is, no matter like what you look like, where you come from, like, you just put your mind on it, put your grind on it, like you can do it, you know what I mean? Because that's what I'm doing, and that's what I did. But I know a lot of kids, especially like in the Asian American community, they like want to do art, and I talk to people who are in majors, but they'd rather be doing something else like me. Like, they want to do photography, or they want to do graphic design, or they want to perform, but their parents are like, it's a risk, and like, I'm not gonna fund that. Yeah, and again, like, I think you have to balance, your passion with like being realistic, and like, what's gonna get me far, what's gonna pay my bill, what's actually like a profitable industry, especially right now in today's economy. Kids need to see people look like us on TV, because people are scared to be the first, but I think once the first person does it, then the person is inspired and is like, yeah, you know what, fuck it. Steven Yeun just got nominated for Best Actor, first Asian American male. Congrats to him. And so I think that's gonna inspire a lot of Asian American actors. And again, like, I get that Asian Americans don't even make up a lot of the population in the United States, which is like the main market I'm talking about. I think there still could be more, and I know there's a lot of people who are so talented. I grew up watching a lot of YouTube. That was like my only friend some days, because it was the only thing making me laugh. And like, shout out to Wong Fu, shout out to Nika Higa, shout out to Atomic Mari, shout out to like, like everybody, Jen I, Dumbfounded, Aquafina. I know I'm forgetting people, I know, I'm sorry. Like, I just found there were a lot more Asian Americans and people who just were talking about the stuff that I'd experienced, and they were all on YouTube. Whenever I was watching TV growing up, I saw, I was watching Friends, and then like Ross's girlfriend, Julie, she was Asian, and like, I'd be like, oh my god, it's an Asian, you know what I mean? And it's like, we would all geek out, because like, it's so rare, like, I'm glad that the roles for Asian Americans aren't so one-dimensional. They're not just like built on caricatures, or just, they're so one-dimensional, or they're just used for punchline, or they're just used just to like, be funny for a minute, and then they just pan out. As in representation, I want to see Asian American characters with like dimensions and emotions and fucked up, like an Asian American character on Euphoria with just like typical issues. That'd be perfect. That'd be solid representation. I'd be like, that's dope. Things are getting better in Hollywood, but obviously we still have a long ways to go, and I think it's only gonna get better. Like, the more you push for it, and the more people are like, why are they always pushing for it? But I guess we'll do it. You know what I mean? Because that's how shit gets done. Like, people are always gonna be annoyed by you calling for change, and they think, oh, you're being too loud, or you're just being a disruption, or you're calling for it, and therefore, some people are like, oh, maybe I shouldn't say it, maybe I should wait, because I really just would rather keep my head down and like wait for something to come to me. And I'm like, no, I think you have to create your own opportunity. Just to bring it back to me, because it's my video. I started writing music at 14 because I wanted to, and because a song came to me from God, I don't fucking know. But like a song came to me and I started writing, and I've been writing ever since. I'm 20 now, so I've been writing for like 6 years. Just everything. I write down everything. Even if it sucks, I don't care. I want to look back at it. I look back to stuff I wrote in 2015 and be like, wow, I changed so much. Mostly for the better. I started managing my friend Andrew Iglesias earlier this year because I wanted to. You have to create stuff for yourself, and that's how shit gets done. Again, I just want more people to acknowledge what's going on. I'm gonna leave links below. You can donate, match me, and just, I don't know, just like keep an eye to what's going on. It's good to feel something, you know? It really is. Again, I'm not in America right now. I don't really feel the vibe, but you know, it's fucked up. These people who are hurting, older people and men and women and the younger generation, you know, like it needs to fucking go. To my POCs, like I hope you can stand with us, because we've all gone through it at one point or another.